Welcome everybody to Randomjeanc Reviews Darkest Dungeon, where your heroes can die of heart attacks. Darkest Dungeon is a roguelike turn-based RPG where all your choices matter because your heroes will live and die based on your choices. I honestly had no idea this game was an early access title because this $19.99 title feels like a full game. Nothing really feels like it's half complete or half-assed. More on that later though. Darkest Dungeon was developed by Red Hook Studios, a small 4-man team who were able to successfully fund the Kickstarter for this game with its initial goal of $75,000 but reached well over $300,000. The game became available on Steam Early Access on February 3rd, 2015. And what these guys came up with was very impressive. You are the heir of the Darkest Dungeon, a manor in which your relative has lived a festive and life of vice. After many years, he grew tired of the wealth and women, and after hearing many rumors and tales that his manor was a gateway to a mysterious and unimaginable power, he spent all his efforts and fortune trying to unearth the secrets of the manor and to try to find this power. With the help of plenty of men and workers, he dug and shoveled into the lowest foundations of the manor. There he found the portal in the otherworld and immediately regretted it, as for it held a realm of death and madness. He was the only one to escape until he left while laughing hysterically and slowly losing his sanity.
You remember our venerable house, opulent and imperial. It is a festering abomination. I beg you, return home. Claim your birthright, and deliver our family from the ravenous, clutching shadows of the Darkest Dungeon.
As mentioned earlier, this is an early access game, and most notably is the story. This is an exceptional introduction for the story, and it's very powerful. It may be a simple story so far, but the execution of it is grand, and I cannot wait to see how it all plays out. I generally did feel bad for the relative, as he was victim to his own greed and vice, but ultimately he regretted his actions and feels guilty for forcing his mistakes upon you. Darkest Dungeon has the appropriate art style of a dark gothic approach, easily adding to the environment and atmosphere being represented here. I really love this unique style with its thick bold lines and its shading that reminds me kind of like comic books, even if it lacks many bright tones and colors. The strongest point of presentation Darkest Dungeon delivers is in the sound. The voice from the narrator, as you have heard, is magnificent. It's a unique accent that I have never heard, and it has a nice booming tone.
Nature herself, a victim to the spreading corruption, malformed with misintent. Such a terrible assault cannot be left unanswered.
The narrator is your unnamed relative who constantly gives updates on fights, situations, and more. He kind of reminds me of the Pokemon Stadium announcer.
It's a one-hit wonder!
I really dig this approach. It makes the game feel more lively, even if everything's so somber in tone. It makes you feel more excited when you get those critical hits, or sad when bad things happen to your heroes too. It just enhances the situation excellently.
Executed with impunity. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
The music is very cool too. Varied themes with flurries of violins and drums are always amazing. Many varieties of instruments are used and they harmonize greatly. The sound effects are also fine. They all sound realistic and convincing. Not the best, but not the worst neither. Darkest Dungeon's goal is to pretty much destroy all the monstrosities that plague the town and the mansion. To do this, you will need the aid of your fellow adventurers who all seek to become great heroes. Luckily, the town's stagecoach offers an unlimited supply of warriors, and you can keep upgrading the stagecoach to offer you more and more heroes per week, as well as being able to hold more of them in town. Speaking of the town, it functions like a giant hub where your heroes can train new skills, get cured from diseases in the sanitarium, party in the tavern to de-stress, or they can pray their stresses away in the abbey. You can also purchase rare equipment, make some new gear, and gain new camping skills in the town as well. Each character class feels unique and has their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, a crusader has high damage and health, but has low speed, while a bounty hunter may have higher speed and higher possibilities of critical hits. However, he will have low HP and does not regularly have high damage. Selecting a squad of 4 from a massive roster of 13 classes is varied and very fun. You can mix and match all kinds of compatible classes. What I mean by compatible is the fact that the combat of Darkest Dungeon is very unique because it's all about positioning. The skills available to your classes and their effectiveness all depends on where your character is. Each skill requires the warrior to be in a specific spot to use said skills. Otherwise, it will be unavailable and grayed out until you move to the desired spot. It is such a new and refreshing combat system that I have never witnessed before, and it's phenomenal. So having melee classes near the front while having more ranged characters near the back is key for a successful party of 4. Not to mention that the enemies can and will use certain skills to push your members from their original spots, making your heroes useless until you move them back to a position in which they can attack. You can also do the same. You can move enemies from their positions, bring them in closer, or push them further away, so their effectiveness is decreased as well. I cannot forget to mention the amazing stress system that this title uses. For every time your character gets hit with the enemy's critical hit, they become more stressed out, not just with critical hits, but with other special attacks or with enemies that always cause stress on impact. I'm looking at you, swine wretch, you disgusting piece of shit. If your hero reaches to 100 stress points, that character will gain an affliction that will be mostly negative. That causes them to ignore your commands, stress their teammates constantly, and have other negative effects. You don't want this to happen because this will not go away until you complete the quest. And now they will gain a permanent negative trait that will be very expensive to get rid of. The opposite can also happen where they will gain a heroic affliction where they will gain bonuses for themselves and for their team, de-stressing them constantly, healing themselves, and more excellent benefits. Death will come for many of your heroes sooner or later, and there are 2 ways they can die. If their health is depleted to 0, they will enter death's door, lowering their stats and raising stresses for everyone. Everyone in death's door has a chance to die, a 67% chance to die on hit, and once they are gone, that's it, they are gone forever. The easier way of death is stress. If stress levels reach 200, that hero will die instantly, no percentage or anything, so be careful, and the stress carries over to the town as well. Luckily, when you get critical hits, kill enemies, or even sometimes when allies gain critical hits, your team's stress will lower. I can't forget how questing works. In Darkest Dungeon, each quest has a goal. Many will be exploring 90% of rooms, finding 3 key items of interest, or complete all room battles. It all depends on the goal. All quest lengths vary if this quest is short, medium, or long. What these mean is roughly how large the randomly generated dungeon will be. Usually the larger it is, the better the rewards will be, but also the more danger, traps, and enemies will be present. Each dungeon also has difficulties. As your heroes gain levels, they will only be able to complete equally difficult dungeons. For example, a level 3 or higher warrior will refuse to explore dungeons that are apprentice level, which is level 1. Level 0 to 2 warriors will refuse any difficulty higher than apprentice levels. These higher difficulties are no joke though. Jumping from apprentice to veteran dungeon difficulty is hard enough. The harder enemies that show up here can annihilate all your members if they are not well equipped. The game is very difficult and saves at any moment, so you can't even load back like you can on XCOM. Once something terrible happens, and it will, you have to live with it, and it's pretty challenging but also pretty realistic, and I really dig that. What helps is that on medium or larger dungeons, your heroes can camp. While they camp, they can heal themselves, de-stress depending on the camping skills they have, and use abilities that will severely power them up. After you camp, you might get ambushed by enemies though, so beware, as it can happen. This camping feature brings great relief on hard quests and is an excellent rewarding mechanic. But be wary, as in most quests you can only do it once or twice depending on the length of the map. Taking on quests is a challenge in itself because you have to bring provisions with you if you want to complete it. All provisions you take will take up precious space on your inventory. It doesn't matter how many you take and how many you use, because after you complete the quest, all of them will be gone. If you take too many with you, you won't have enough room for treasure and items. Take too few and you'll cause yourself to get screwed over early on, so pick wisely. If you ever have to abandon your quest, you will lose the quest reward, but you'll be able to take everything you have in your inventory home, at the cost of a stress penalty, of course. The most essential items to take are food and torches. Food is necessary to keep your party well fed. As they move in the dungeon, they will get hungry, and if you don't have enough, your party will starve and suffer a large health and stress penalty. So you must take food in groups of 4, 1 per party member. Torches are essential too, because depending on how bright your torch is, it will control the stress and damage your party will suffer at the hands of your enemies. On the brightest level, your party will have much higher chances to scout the map, revealing locations of enemies, traps, and treasures, and chance to surprise the enemy, making them lose 1 turn, but your rewards will be a fraction of what they could be if the light level was lower. At its lowest, for example, your party will suffer more stress and enemies do more damage and have higher accuracies, in addition for them to have a higher chance to surprise you, but your loot will be way better and your characters characters will have a much higher chance for critical hits, which can in turn lower the stress levels of your party as well. I love this feature because it directly allows you to control how risky you want to be and make your risks where your greed can cost your entire squads or your favorite hero. And when I first fought the veteran necromancer boss, I owned it and got lucky. But I thought, this is too easy. Maybe I can snuff out my torch and gain insane amount of wealth. My god, I was horribly wrong. I abandoned the battle, went back in, got my light level all the way down. I barely got out alive. And because many party members panicked, it caused one of my favorite characters to die just by a hair. So please don't get cocky and underestimate the power of the torch. I nearly lost my entire squad to heart attacks, but I did get some insanely awesome loot. So please, think carefully about how much you want to risk for the reward. Exploring the dungeon is fun too. The 3 available so far are awesome. The enemies that inhabit each dungeon are really inventive and cool. What sucks about the bosses is the fact that once you beat them, a harder version of them will pop up in the same region, with pretty much the same recycled moves. It sucks that the game recycles the bosses over and over, with barely any differences in gameplay. They should have made completely new bosses instead of recycling the same ones over and over, with just stronger versions. Littered throughout the dungeon are points of interest like books, corpses, crates, and more. These can have positive or negative effects on you too, as in they might offer you loot but also poison you or give you a disease, depending on what item it is. I love the fact the Darkest Dungeon forces us to resist our old urges of exploring everything, as it can have negative and expensive consequences. Every hero is an investment, and money is difficult to come by. Upgrading your warriors, and most of all treating them for negative quirks and diseases, is really expensive. You can always sell items for extra gold, but keep the better trinkets to equip your heroes for better bonuses. I know this is an early access title, but I did experience a possible game-breaking bug that completely erased my data of all my heroes. I lost every single one of them for no good reason. The developers have acknowledged this bug exists and are trying to fix it, as they themselves have suffered through it too. But I cannot ignore that this bug happened, and it is quite common, so I must take that account into my review, and it's not going to be pretty. Despite this happening, it was fun trying to make the best of what I had. This allowed me to discover some new and interesting combinations of classes. I was lucky though that the data for the characters was deleted, but not the ones for the town data, because that would have nearly broken the game for me. Losing the data of the town is much worse than the characters, because upgrading your buildings costs so many resources, it would have been unbearable. And after playing for 40 hours, you bet your ass that would have been bad. Luckily, that didn't happen. It's very important to back up your game just in case. Darkest Dungeon is one of the most polished early access games I have ever played. It is possibly the most polished early access game I have ever seen. The sheer amount of content packed into this $19.99 title is remarkable. Few turn-based RPGs change the formula so much with its incredible risk-reward lighting system, its importance of unit arrangement, and its never-before-seen stress system. Darkest Dungeon is full of charm, polish, and it's hard to believe there is so much content still coming. There are only 3 dungeons so far and 13 classes, but the developers have said the next dungeon, the Cove, is coming. I cannot wait to see what else will arrive. Despite recycling the same bosses over repetitively, some extremely painful bugs that can possibly undo countless hours of work, Darkest Dungeon is a prime example of crowdfunding done right. The content offered here rivals AAA titles, and these are all reasons I have decided to give Darkest Dungeon a great game. Let's see how this game has been doing in the Steam community. An 87% out of 7,040 reviews. That's actually pretty close to my score. Well done, Steam community. Well done. I love the fact that you checked this video out and stuck in till the end. Please keep being this awesome, and you can always follow me on the G+ and on Twitter. If you like this, subscribe and give me feedback on your thoughts of the game or the review itself or just about anything in between. Click here if you want to see my last review of the Oregon Trail, not the Oregon Trail. And for my XCOM Enemy Within review, click here. Stay cool, peeps. Thank you for watching. This is Randomjeanc signing off.